the past profound and wonderful Dharma is difficulty encountering billions of aeons. I now see it, hear it, receive, and uphold it, about to fathom the Tathagata's true meaning, to liberate all beings. Let's generate the supreme bodhicitta. Let us now continue with our class on the Surangama Sutra. The female Sangha over here received an empowerment before classes, so it took a little bit extra time before our actual class. However, such time is completely worth it. To receive the Dharma teachings and to receive the Dharma, sometimes we can exert our effort. If we were to go through hardship, difficulties, if we were to exert effort for the Dharma, it is a very good way of pacify our past negative karma as well. Recently, in my hometown, the monastery just had a Dharma event where an empowerment and oral transmission were given. The whole empowerment and oral transmission lasted for over a week. We have an old Khenpo over there. He is about 97 years old. And the whole Dharma teaching lasted from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. The 97-year-old Khenpo would sit there uninterruptedly between 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. for 7 days to receive the Dharma teachings. How many of you would be able to have such perseverance? How many of you would place Dharma at such a high regard? You need to contemplate upon it. Now let's look at the sutra. Today we are going to look at the 25th disciple of out of the 25 disciples who shared their experience. The 25th disciple is Avalokiteshvara, and he started sharing his understanding of the ear organ being the perfect penetration. The level of realization of Avalokiteshvara is of great heights, so we won't be able to expound all of his understanding this year in our teachings, but we will cover the 32 types of manifestations of Avalokiteshvara. After that, we can put a pause to our classes this year. Today, I think we can consider it as an auspicious dependent arising. We need to make the aspiration to benefit sentient beings as Avalokiteshvara. We need to make the aspiration to be endowed with the compassion and wisdom as Avalokiteshvara. We need to make that aspiration. Now, Avalokiteshvara, since he has such a great endowments of virtues and qualities, we won't be able to completely expound it in our class this year. When we study the different examples and different stories of the 25 disciples telling their experience of attaining realization, we need to understand if we can also exert our effort, then eventually one day we will also be able to attain enlightenment. At the same time, we need to realize that different people have different practices and different Dharma methods, so we should not have wrong views or slander the others. Because others may attain realization through different ways than you do. When we look at the different Dharma methods, One of the great examples would be the 84 great siddhas from India. Each of them are quite special and different with their different ways of attaining realization. Later, when we have opportunity, we should study the 84 great siddhas of India. After studying the realizations of the 25 disciples of the Buddha, we need to generate a pure perception. We need to understand that different people can attain realization through different ways. And today, I will not expound the teaching too much in detail. However, in the commentary of Surangama Sutra, different masters would explain in different ways, because the Surangama Sutra is expounded differently than, for example, the Buddhist logic or the Madhyamika teachings. A great numbers of masters would give teachings very differently. Look at the teachers such as Master Chang Shui, Master Jiao Guang, Master Ouyi, and the contemporary teachers such as Master Xuanhua, Master Yuanying, and Master Nanhuai Jing, and so on. They all have different ways of explaining the sutra. I read through them as well. But I can see that different teachers have their different understandings. So today I will just give a very simple explanation, very literal explanation of the sutra. Then the Guanxin Bodhisattva, the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, rose from his seat, bowed at the Buddha's feet, and said to the Buddha, "World honored one, I remember when, as many kalpas ago as there are sands in the Ganges, there was a Buddha in the world named contemplating the world's sound." So back around the time, that was many kalpas ago, as there are sands in the Ganges, there was a Buddha in the world also named contemplating the world's sounds, because Avalokiteshvara, the meaning of that name is contemplating the world's sound as well. It was under that Buddha that I brought forth the Bodhi resolve, that the Buddha taught me to enter samadhi through a process of hearing and reflection. The Buddha, contemplating the world's sound, taught Avalokiteshvara at that time how to practice the samadhi, how to begin all the way from study contemplation and then practice and then enters into samadhi. But the contemplation, study, and practice that we are talking about are different than the one that is discussed here, because the one that we usually talk about is more from a broader aspect. Over here, the listening is that the root of the ear organ do not follow the external object of sound, which is the nature of hearing. And then after listening, after hearing, contemplate upon it. This is the awareness. Or you can call this kinds of a wisdom as a contemplation, and then practices to practice how to use the wisdom from listening and a wisdom from contemplation into one's mind, into one's true mind. That is the practice. By practicing in such a method, I entered into samadhi. So the listening, contemplation, and practice is different than what we usually talk about, because the listening here refers to the wisdom of listening, which is the nature of wisdom. And then he continued to say that initially I entered the flow through hearing and forget objective states. He talks about at the time of listening to the teaching from the Buddha, from that Buddha, by listening, he entered into the true mind. this wondrous luminosity, the true essence of Tathagata that is without production and without cessation, that is completely pure and undefiled, that kind of nature. And this kind of listen is not by hearing a sound, it is rather to enter into the correct path, enter into the true mind. And that is to let go of the objective states. So at the time of contemplation, at the time of looking inward, one would not be able to see any of these kinds of objective dust anymore. And then he continued to say that since the sense objects and sense organs were quiet, the two characteristics of movement and stillness crystallized and did not arise. At the time of listening and making observation of it, one can see that the nature of it is quiet. The nature of it, if the nature of it is quiet, then the object of listening, the sound that has movement and stillness, these two kinds of objective dusts, are simply the two characteristics that is beyond production, that is without production. So the root of it is without production and without cessation. This is a refutation on the skandha of form. As long as it surpasses that of the skandha of the form, then some of the commentaries states that this particular points to the five skandhas and then the five defilements to surpass that of the dhatu of defilements. And then the second one, he continued to say that after that, gradually advancing, the hearing and what was heard both disappeared. So with the development of samadhi, then the hearing and that is to be heard, these kinds of characteristics on the external level will extinguish at the same time. Then the movement and stillness do not exist. The hearing and that to be heard would become extinguished as well. So this is to refute on the existence of the skandha of feeling, of perception. So this is to surpass that of the defilements of view. And then the third one is that once the hearing was ended, there was nothing to rely on, and awareness and objects of awareness become empty. As long as it become empty, that cannot be obtained, then this is a refutation on the existence of the skandha of perception, which would surpass that of the defilement of affliction. That's the fourth stage. And then when the emptiness of awareness reached an ultimate perfection, emptiness and what was being emptied then also ceased to be. Over here, he pointed out that the awareness and that which is to be aware all become empty, and since it is empty, and awareness is already perfect, is already pure, then that is empty and that is to be emptied is all coming to a cessation. In this way, even empty is not existent. This is to refute the skandha of mental formations and to surpass that of the defilements of sentient beings, of beings. And then the next one, he continued to say that since the production and extinction were gone, still extinctions were reviewed. At the time when the mind subject to production and extinction vanished, the genuine bliss of still extinction manifested. So that's the refutation on the skandha of consciousness, which can surpass that of the defilements of life. By making such observation, we can see that this particular part talks about how form is emptiness and emptiness is form, this union of form and emptiness, which is of equanimity. And then you can come to the understanding of such equanimity is parted from any of the elaborations. This is is really following the four steps of observation of Madhyamika. It's very similar to it, at least. So from here, all the way from making observation of listening to awareness, and then to emptiness, and then emptiness is without any production or nor extinction, and that brings to the final state of still extinction. So this is the level of realization of a bodhisattva. That's the highest level of realization. Avalokiteshvara, through the ear organ, attained such a realization. And it is not that we hear something from our ear organ. It is not like that at all. It's rather to hear the true sound, such a profound teaching that he is expounding. After understanding that, then you can surpass all the five defilements, or or you can come to the understanding of the refutation of the existence of the five skandhas, and that is the highest realization. Suddenly, I transcended the mundane and transcendental worlds, and throughout the 10 directions, a perfect brightness prevailed. I obtained 2 supreme states. At that time, he surpassed that of the 10 directions of both mundane and transcendental. He attained such kind of a state of perfection and attained 2 supreme fruition. What are the 2 then? First, I was united above the fundamental wonderful enlightened mind of all the Buddhas of the 10 directions, and I gained a strength of compassion equal to that of all the Buddhas, the thus come one. And second, I was united below with all living beings in the 6th path, and I gained a kind regard for all living beings equally. The bodhisattvas would extend compassions without object to all living beings. For us, the mundane beings, maybe we would feel very joyful whenever we think of the Buddhas and bodhisattvas, but not necessarily to the sentient beings. And sometimes we would grasp onto the concept of liberating sentient beings. It is because we still have grasping of true existence. So in such a way, the Buddhas and bodhisattvas would not take delight in our grasping of liberating sentient beings. Avalokiteshvara, at the time of seeking for Buddhahood and then liberating sentient beings, he has that compassion without object when it comes to Buddhas and bodhisattvas level of realization, and when it comes to the beings of the 6 realms. The compassion to the sentient beings is without a dichotomy. Whenever we see any sentient being suffering, we would have a sense of sympathy. However, there is still a boundary, there is still a barrier between us and the sentient beings. For such reason, it is not possible for us to have that kind of compassion without a dichotomy. Then Avalokiteshvara continued to say that, world-honored one, because I served and made offering to the thus come one, the contemplating the sounds of the world, I received from the thus come one a transmission of the Vajra Samadhi of all beings, like an illusion, as one becomes permeated with hearing and cultivates hearing. Here, Avalokiteshvara talks about the nature of hearing is empty. So first there comes the wisdom of hearing, and then practice of hearing. After one finished listening, one would be able to see the nature of listening. And the nature of listening is neither one nor other with the practice. So, listening, practice, and contemplation is all correlated. One cannot be parted from any one of them. It is said that the listening, within listening there is practice, and within practice there is listening. That is the true listening, study, and contemplation. Lama Yiko once given an example of how the 2 horses are tied up together. They would scratch each other. They would help out and scratch each other. And you probably don't truly understand this example if you don't have horses or have heard horses. But within Tibetan Buddhism, it is one particular example to demonstrate the importance of listening and contemplation and how they would work simultaneously. So Avalokiteshvara over here understood that within the dreamlike nature of listening, there is the nature of practicing, and within the nature of practice, there is the nature of hearing as well. So in such a way, he attained the very subtle Vajra Samadhi. And by relying on it, he had destroyed the most subtle ignorance. He continued to say that because I gained a power of compassion identical to that of all Buddhas, the thus come ones, I became accomplished in 32 response bodies and entered all lines. The response bodies, the manifested bodies, the Nirmanakaya, there are 32 Nirmanakayas associated with the manifested bodies of Avalokiteshvara. So his manifested bodies would enter into different lands to benefit sentient beings. Different teachers such as Master Chang Shuyan and so on, they would say that in fact this number only signifies that there are infinite numbers of bodies of Avalokiteshvara to liberate sentient beings. Within the Avatamsaka Sutra, it also talks about how the manifestations of the Buddhas are immeasurable, cannot be numbered. So the 32 is really just a category, not the limited numbers of the manifestations, but the categories. Within the 32 types of manifestations, the 32 categories, the two major categories are of the noble ones and of the mundane ones. The noble ones there are 4 associated to noble ones and 28 associated to mundane ones. And within the mundane ones, 7 of which are of the celestial beings and 12 are of the human beings. 7 are of the Nagas. Altogether, there are 32. So at first, he talks about the 4 types of noble ones, how he would liberate sentient beings by manifesting into the 4 noble ones. World-honored one, if there are bodhisattvas who enter samadhi and vigorously cultivate the extinction of outflows, who have superior understanding and manifest a perfected penetration, I will appear in the body of Buddha and speak Dharma for them, causing them to attain liberation. At the time when there are bodhisattvas practicing Abhan Samadhi and wanting to practice to enter into Samadhi, while they vigorously cultivate the extinction of outflows, who have superior understanding, who have already attained the superior understanding and manifest perfect penetration, then of course, one would no longer be able to liberate them with the manifestation of a bodhisattva. Either at that time, Avalokiteshvara can manifest as a 10th Bhumi Bodhisattva, or with the body or form as a Buddha to liberate those bodhisattvas, especially the bodhisattvas of the 9th or 10th Bhumi. Because the bodhisattva of higher bhumis cannot be liberated by the form of the first bhumi bodhisattva. So Avalokiteshvara would manifest into the form of a Buddha to speak the Dharma to them and causing them to attain liberation. The second manifestation is that if there are those who are studying, who are tranquil and have wonderful clarity, who have superior and miraculous and manifest perfection, I will appear before them in the body of a solitary enlightened one, the Pratika Buddha, and speak Dharma for them, causing them to attain liberation. In terms of the Pratika Buddhas, there are two types of the Pratika Buddha. So one is the ones with duller faculties who live in a community, and then the other ones are the sharper faculties who live alone, like rhinoceros. So there are the two types of them. And then the kinds of Pratika Buddhas who attain liberation mainly by understanding, coming to a realization through the understanding of the 12 links of interdependent origination. Avalokiteshvara would appear in front of them during their solitary retreat, especially during the time when there is no Buddha appearing in that time, and then causing them to attain liberation. And then he continued to say that if there are those who are studying who have severed the 12 causal conditions, and having severed the conditions reveal a supreme nature, and who are superior and wonderful and manifest perfection, I will appear before them in the body of one enlightened to conditions and speak Dharma for them. So Avalokiteshvara would appear in front of them in the manifestation of a Pratika Buddha and speak Dharma for them, causing them to attain liberation. The Pratika Buddhas, according to some teachings, it says that not necessarily the Pratika Buddhas would give teachings through their speech. Sometimes they would give teachings through manifesting rain, manifesting fire. And then the fourth one, also a noble one, is that if there are those who are studying who have attained the emptiness of the Four Truths and cultivating the way, have entered extinction and have a superior nature and a manifest perfection, I will appear before them in the body of a sound hearer and speak Dharma for them, causing them to attain liberation. To the ones that would practice upon the Four Noble Truths to seek for the extinction, I would manifest in front of them as arhats, as Shravakas. I would give them Dharma teachings in such a form, in such a manifestation, so that they can attain liberation. Now, we've already covered the four types of noble ones, the manifestation of the noble ones, including Buddha and two types of Pratika Buddhas as well as Shravakas. And then the following are the 7 celestial beings. The first one is a Brahma king. If there are living beings who wish to have their minds be clear and awakened, who do not engage in mundane desires and wish to purify their bodies, I will appear before them in the body of a Brahma king and speak Dharma for them, causing them to attain liberation. So the Brahma king, this is the one manifestation could cause the sentient beings to attain liberation, but not for the later ones. The later ones would only refer to say that the manifestation would accomplish their wish. Maybe the Brahma king is quite great in terms of giving Dharma teachings or in terms of helping sentient beings to attain liberation. So for the ones who wish to attain pure body, pure precepts, then Avalokiteshvara would appear in front of them as a Brahma king. In the Bodhisattva vow, it talks about if one were not to eradicate their desire, that kind of obscuration could block the Brahma king. Don't even mention about the Bodhi, let alone the Bodhi. So we have to eradicate our desire first. And then the next one is the Lord Chakra. If there are living beings who wish to be the Heavenly Lord, the leader of the heavenly beings, I will appear before them in the body of Chakra and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. This is the second one, the Chakra. The third one is a god from heaven of self-mastery. In the sutra, it says, if living beings wish to attain physical self-mastery and to roam throughout the 10 directions, if one wants to attain physical self-mastery, then I will appear before them in the body of a god from the heaven of self-mastery and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. If there are living beings who wish to attain physical self-mastery and fly through space, I will appear before them in the body of a god from the heaven of great self-mastery and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. This one is the god from the heaven of great self-mastery. So the god from heaven of self-mastery and the heaven of great self-mastery are different. Well, if sentient beings want to attain that kind of physical self-mastery, that physical freedom of traveling through space within the 3,000-fold world and within the form realm, the 4 dhyana heavens, then Avalokiteshvara said that he will appear in front of them and give them teachings in the form of a god from the heaven of great self-mastery. And then he continued to say that if there are living beings who are found of ruling over ghosts and spirits in order to rescue and protect their country, I will appear before them in the body of a great heavenly general and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. If one were to wanting to rule over ghosts and spirits and then also to protect one's country, then Avalokiteshvara would appear in front of them as the heavenly general and then give them Dharma teachings. So that they can accomplish their wish. Now the 6th one is the 4 heavenly kings. If there are living beings who like to govern the world, in order to protect living beings, I will appear before them in the body of one of the 4 heavenly kings and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. If there are living beings wanting to govern the world within the 4 continents and also protect the sentient beings, all the living beings, then Avalokiteshvara said that he will appear before them in the body of one of the 4 heavenly kings, and then give them Dharma teachings for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. We can see that Avalokiteshvara can manifest in such a great way. He can manifest as the 4 hevenly kings, the 4 great kings, and he can manifest in such a way to rule the heavenly realm, the form realm, and the desire realm. The 7th is that if there are living beings who enjoy being born in the heavenly palaces and command ghosts and spirits, I will appear before them in the body of a prince from the kingdoms of the 4 heavenly kings and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. If one were to enjoy to be born in the heavenly palace and then command ghosts and spirits, then Avalokiteshvara said that I will appear before them in the body of a prince from the kingdom of the 4 heavenly kings and speak Dharma for them, so that their wishes can be accomplished. Now we have already covered the 4 manifestations as noble ones and then 7 manifestations as the celestial beings. Let's look at the human beings. There are 12 types of human beings. If there are beings who would like to be kings of people, I will appear before them in the body of a human king and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. If you want to be kings of people, if you want to be an authority, if you want to have power, then Avalokiteshvara would appear before them in the body of a human king and speak Dharma for them. For the different leaders of countries We never know which prime minister or which president can be the manifestation of Avalokiteshvara. Maybe we don't even like those leaders of that country, but maybe they are exactly the manifestation of Avalokiteshvara. So that's the first one. And the second one is that if there are living beings who enjoy being heads of households, whom of those of the world venerate and yields to, I will appear before them in the body of an elder and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. For those kinds of beings, Avalokiteshvara would appear as the noble ones, as elder ones, as the ones from maybe a royal family, the ones with wealth, with merits, with great power. There are people who really enjoy being with the ones with power and wealth, and there are people who incline to be with the ones with great abundance of wisdom. But I think in our monastery in Larungar, we really cherish the ones with the abundance of wisdom, and not much so when it comes to wealth, the worldly wealth, because our view is very much different than that of the worldly beings. Some of the worldly beings, they can be very good at physical competition, even fighting sometimes. But if you're very good at fighting in the worldly sense, when you come to Larungar, you probably would get expelled. Also, there are people with great amount of wealth. In the worldly sense, people would show off. But over here in Larungar, as practitioners, we would look at people's merits. Similarly, the disabled ones, the handicapped ones in the worldly beings' eyes, they're not the most desirable, and sometimes they would get bullied even. But in Larungar, we would respect them, and we don't have that kind of stereotype or to look down at them at all. We are indeed a very different kind of community. But if you really want to be with an elder one, then Avalokiteshvara would manifest in such a way as an elder to give you the teachings. Of course, the teachings are not necessarily in the language of the Four Noble Truths, the Four Immeasurables, and the Dzogchen teachings. Rather, he would slowly tame the sentient beings from their particular angle, so that their minds can be tamed slowly. The elder ones, such as kings and such as the leaders of a country, and such as the ones from the royal family, if they were to speak Dharma, I think the worldly beings would feel that they're quite different, very strange even. Anyhow, the next one is that if there are living beings who delight in discussing the classics and who keep themselves lofty and pure, I will appear before them in the body of an upasaka and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. For beings take delight in speaking of, for example, philosophy and speaking of lofty ideas, then Avalokiteshvara would manifest as practitioners or lay practitioners, the upasakas or the yogis, or the ones that had renounced the world. In those kinds of manifestations, Avalokiteshvara would give them Dharma teachings, so that those group of people would be able to accomplish their wish. And then if there are living beings who enjoy governing the country and who can handle matters of state decisively, I will appear before them in the body of an official and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. to the kinds of people enjoy governing the country and handle all kinds of conflicts and different kinds of arguments and so on, then Avalokiteshvara would manifest in the body of an official, of someone with authority, and then speak Dharma for them. If there are living beings who like reckoning and incantation and who wish to guard and protect themselves, I will appear before them in the body of a Brahmin and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. There are people who enjoy, for example, astrology and enjoy making predictions, incantations. Also protecting their health, taking care of their physical health and interested in nutrition. To such kinds of people, Avalokiteshvara said that I will appear before them in the body of a Brahmin. Why Brahmin? Because Brahmin are considered as the ones that's very smart, and they had accumulated a great amount of knowledge. In the ancient India, it is said that the 18 categories of knowledge are obtained by the Brahmin. So they would appear in the body. Avalokiteshvara said that he will appear in the body of a Brahmin and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. If there are men who want to leave the home life and uphold the precepts and rules, I will appear before them in the body of a bhikshu and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. If men want to renounce their home life and observe the 250 vows of a monastic, then Avalokiteshvara would appear before them in the body of a bhikshu and then speak Dharma to them, so that Avalokiteshvara would give them the vows as the teacher. And then, if there are women who would like to leave the home life and hold pure precepts, I will appear before them in the body of a bhikshuni and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. If there are women who want to uphold the pure precepts, the 360 vows of being monastic, then Avalokiteshvara said that I will appear in front of them as a pure bhikshuni and then give them Dharma teachings, enabling them to accomplish their wishes. If there are men who want to uphold the 5 precepts, I will appear before them in the body of an upasaka and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. For men who want to uphold the 5 precepts, the 3 vows of taking refuge and the 5 vows, 5 precepts associated to upasakas, then Avalokiteshvara would appear in front of them as the upasakas, because if an upasaka were to stand there by himself, that must be very lonely. So Avalokiteshvara, in order to comply with the sentient beings, he would manifest accordingly to the different sentient beings. To the upasakas, he would manifest as upasaka. To the bhikshus, he would manifest as bhikshus, and bhikshunis as bhikshunis. And then he continued, and then in the sutra, it continued to say that if there are women who wish to base themselves in the 5 precepts, I will appear before them in the body of an upasika and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. The next one is if there are women who govern internal affairs of household or country, I will appear before them in the body of a queen, first lady, or noble women, and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. If there are women who are interested in governing in politics, and then in, for example, running the country or running a household, then Avalokiteshvara said that I will appear before them in the body of a queen, of the first lady, a chancellor, a prime minister, or a noblewoman. And speak Dharma for them. In general, Avalokiteshvara would appear as the respectful women. That's very important to running the country, not necessarily the foremost of the ruler, but as a female ruler of a country. There are a great numbers of really respectful women in this world. The scholars and the wise ones, and even some of the accomplished women as well. So if women need such kinds of manifestation, then Avalokiteshvara would manifest as a woman to give Dharma teachings to them so that their wishes can be accomplished. And then the 11th is that if there are virgin lads, I will appear before them in the body of a pure youth and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. To the kinds of men that do not want to defile their body and mind, they wanted to just stay as a celibate. And to such kinds of practitioners or such kinds of people, then Avalokiteshvara would appear in front of them as a pure youth and speak Dharma for them, to be their companions. And then the last one is that if there are maidens who want to remain virgins and do not wish to marry, I will appear before them in the body of a gracious lady and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. Similar to the previous one, if a maiden do not wish to live a tainted and contaminated life, then Avalokiteshvara would appear in front of them as maidens as well to give them Dharma teachings. Now we've covered the 12 manifestations of human beings. The next 7, I think, are the Nagas. If there are heavenly beings who wish to escape their heavenly destiny, I will appear in the body of a god and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. Avalokiteshvara would appear as a god and then speak the Dharma, such as the 37 factors of enlightenment to them so that they can accomplish their wish. If there are dragons, the Nagas who want to quit their lot of being dragons, there are the 4 types of Nagas. If there are the kinds of Nagas that want to renounce their living within the community of Nagas, or they want to renounce their lot of being Nagas, then Avalokiteshvara said that I will appear before them in the body of a Naga and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. If there are yakshas, this is the 3rd one, who want to get out of their present fate, I will appear before them in the body of a yaksha and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. If there are yakshas who want to renounce their present fate, their present living, then Avalokiteshvara would appear in the body of a yaksha and then speak Dharma for them. Ponsu Rinpoche once stated that in order to liberate sentient beings, it is crucial to pay attention to our state of being. That is to say that for lay practitioners, they may get a little bit intimidated by the monastics. So sometimes it could be easier for the lay practitioners to help the other lay practitioners to accomplish their wish and to attain liberation because they share the same ground. Similarly, it is easier for the monastics to help out the monastics and lead them to realization as well. Of course, there are a group of the lay practitioners who would feel very happy to see the monastics, especially the ones with faith. But for the ones without faith, or even with a different faith, at the time of seeing those shaven head Shramanas, they would feel a bit frightened, and sometimes it would generate a wrong view, and sometimes they would feel that, well, to such a strange person, why would I hear teachings from him? And so it's very difficult to liberate them by giving them teachings in such a way. Look at Avalokiteshvara, he would adapt different kinds of state of being to liberate sentient beings. To the Nagas, he would be Nagas. To Yakshas, he would be Yakshas. Then the next group is that the fourth one is that if there are Gandharvas who wish to be freed from their destiny, I will appear before them in the body of a Gandharva and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. The fifth one, Asuras. If there are Asuras who wish to be liberated from their destiny, I will appear before them in the body of Nanashura and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. The sixth one, if there are Kimnaras who wish to transcend their fate, I will appear before them in the body of a Kimnara and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. And then the next one is Maharagas. If there are Maharagas who wish to be freed from their destiny, I will appear before them in the body of a Maharaga and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. I believe, according to the Avalokiteshvara Vikarvana Nirdesa, which is the 25th chapter from the Lotus Sutra, there was a Garuda who wanted to part from his fate of being a Garuda, and Avalokiteshvara appeared as a Garuda to give him the Dharma teachings. Out of the 32 manifestations, sometimes Avalokiteshvara would manifest as the one that upholds a Vajra with those kinds of manifestations to benefit sentient beings, to liberate sentient beings. And then the next one is on mundane beings. If there are living beings who like being people and want to continue to be people, I will appear in the body of a person and speak Dharma for them, enabling enabling them to accomplish their wish. And then the next one is non-human. I think for this one, the non-human has more of an extensive teaching, or it have more of an extensive group of audience. Some of the Dharma teachers would say that the beings of the lower realms are not included. In fact, in the biography of Avalokiteshvara, it says that sometimes Avalokiteshvara would manifest all kinds of forms in the hell realm, in hungry ghost cities, and in the animal realm to liberate sentient beings. But over here, it didn't specify whether Avalokiteshvara manifested as the beings of hell realm or beings of hungry ghost realm or of the animal realm to liberate them. Rather, here it just says that if there are non-humans, whether with a form or without form, whether with thoughts or without thought, who long to be freed from their destiny, I will appear before them in a body like theirs and speak Dharma for them, enabling them to accomplish their wish. Now, in terms of non-humans, some of them has form and some of not. Sometimes we can't even see those beings because they don't have form, such as beings from the formless realm. And sometimes there are the kinds of beings that has thought and do not have thought, such as rocks, and such as beings living in the neighboring house. Also, there are sentient beings such as the bridge and the rocks and all of the inanimate things. Then the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara would liberate those kinds of sentient beings with the manifestation of their particular forms. Previously, we had quoted a particular teaching to talk about the different manifestations of Avalokiteshvara. It covers 10 aspects, such as the knowing and the path, and then the processing objects, and the nirvana, and so on. The sentient beings indirectly, by relying on such kinds of teaching to attain liberation. But such kinds of teaching not necessarily seem to be Dharma teaching. For example, in order to liberate a sparrow, then we would make sparrow sounds so that they can be liberated. And to our eyes, it is not necessarily a Dharma teaching on selflessness, emptiness, and impermanence. It is not like that at all. But within the language of that sparrow, there is a seed of liberation being planted, and slowly that sparrow would be able to step onto the path of liberation. The manifestations of bodhisattvas and Buddhas can be like such. Look at the 6 Buddhas when they enter into the hell realm and the particular cities. There are no such environment, proper container for them to give Dharma teachings. When Avalokiteshvara liberates sentient beings in 6 realms, there are sometimes no proper time and proper environment for him to give Dharma teaching, so to speak. But by relying on his power, he can still liberate sentient beings. As Pongso Rinpoche stated, that it is not necessarily that you have to perform some grand ritual of religion. Rather, you can rely on a kind heart so that others would also generate the mind of eradicate vicious actions and practice the virtue. That is the kind of turning the Dharma wheel. That is the true kind of turning the Dharma wheel through your own actions. That is also extremely important. After studying this, we can see that Avalokiteshvara would manifest in different forms and teach according to the different capacities of sentient beings. We ourselves can also make such aspiration. Though that we don't have the capacity to transform into different beings, but we can change our angle when we talk to other people. For example, if I were to encounter people of doctors, then I can talk about things that's related to medical, and to policemen, then we can talk about the judicial system and so on and so forth. To different people, we can talk and we can influence them from their particular areas as well. This is a really good method. For example, if someone comes, if you were to do otherwise, for example, if others were to say that, oh, I studied architecture, and then as a monastic, if you were to say that, oh, architecture is just simply piling up of dualistic thoughts, don't study it. It is really to create a negative karma. That is not true. You're really slandering the teaching of the Tathagata, because the Buddha says that everything is empty, but you're not thinking about everything is empty. If you were to speak of such wrong views, other people would generate wrong views. In this era of internet, the mind of human beings could change really quickly. Sometimes they can change from happiness to feeling pain and suffering, and all of a sudden from happiness to complete agony. With this kinds of a mindset, that could change very quickly. A little bit of change of language could waver others' mindset. The mindset of people nowadays are not as stable, as pure as people used to be. For that reason, whenever you talk to others, it is not necessary for you to attack the pain point of or the weak point of the others. Because if you were to do so, people nowadays tend to just very quickly generate wrong view and maybe never would study the Dharma again. For that reason, we can see that Avalokiteshvara, he complied with the sentient beings. His body could manifest into different forms. And I think to myself that if we were to go to Africa, we need to think about what is the likings and the disposition of the Africans. If you were to benefit people in Europe, then you need to think about that of the Europeans and so on and so forth. You need to know that kind of people's habitual tendencies and their dispositions and their likings and their weakness and so on and so forth. Just as an actor, as practitioners, we need to play in various roles. Sometimes we can play as a Mara, sometimes as a Devi. In order to liberate sentient beings, those are skillful means. Of course, the very basis of that is that one has to have a very kind heart. Otherwise, all of those skillful means can be called trickery, and that is not good. So we have to firstly develop the wholeheartedness, the genuine mind of trying to help the others. Otherwise, the others will not be able to gain benefits. Now we have all kinds of skillful means to benefit sentient beings. You don't have to be so stubborn of only use one. I think I once talked like this in class. I said that in front of different people, we need to speak different languages. We need to speak differently. As bodhisattvas, this is a skillful means that we need to train in. Indeed, look at Avalokiteshvara. He could benefit sentient beings in various forms. At the time of seeing human beings, he could use 12 different categories of human beings to benefit them. And to the Nagas and to the celestial beings, he could manifest accordingly. When it comes to the beginners who don't really know anything yet, if you were to speak negatively to them, then they would easily give up the path altogether. For example, people who enjoyed smoking cigarettes, if you were to point out that smoking cigarettes is wrong and it's a violation of the pure vow, it is creating negative karma, it is not allowed here, and so on and so forth. By pointing that out, they would probably generate the mind of aversion. We need to recognize that making mistakes are simply normal, and we shouldn't avert it very quickly or at the very beginning. The other day, some authority was asking me to pass on the planning to fellow camels, but the language he used was rather too informal. It was not that he was being disrespectful, it was simply that was the kind of language that he knew. So I didn't point it out in that particular environment. Anyhow, whatever we do, we need to treat everyone with a kind heart. That is really the most crucial. Then in the sutra, it says that this is called the wonderful purity of the 32 response bodies, the manifestations by which one enters into all lands and accomplishes self-mastery by means of the samadhi of becoming permeated with hearing and cultivating hearing, and by means of the miraculous strength of effortlessness. We often say that the wisdom is without any deliberate effort. However, the wondrous power of it would display in a way of a dream and as an illusion to benefit limitless sentient beings, just as how the lotus do not get tinted just as how the lotus do not grasp onto water, nor the sun and the moon do not abide in space. The bodhisattvas freely soar within the space and benefit infinite numbers of sentient beings. So at the very end of our class, may all of us, in our practice, we would be able to attain the free accomplishment with the great, effortless, wondrous power to liberate sentient beings and accomplish the activity of benefiting others. Now we have already finished a little bit over a half of the Surangama Sutra according to the treasure of great qualities. And within the root Vinaya, it says that as long as we finish over half of it, then it is considered as accomplished. This is spoken in the Tibetan tradition, as well as by Ponzo Rinpoche. Sometimes he would say that we started the Surangama Sutra all the way from 2019 and then till now, though that we paused for a period of time. And now let's make this application. May the protectors give us blessings, and by the blessings of the Sangha, may we accomplish the perfect study of the Surangama Sutra, especially the later part. May we live till then. We need to make that aspiration by the 32 manifestations of Avalokiteshvara, by the wondrous power that is without deliberate effort. We can all attain accomplishments with great freedom. With that aspiration, let us make the dedication of merit together. 今天可能时间稍微有一点但也差别不是很大的。所那么的一谈起这把年头呢，你别站呢，谈起这个难起让人吃吧，这本从年着吧着。